Okay, so here I'm going to do a live reaction where I sort of clown and ridicule, kind of trying to relive my real-time reaction of seeing this for the first time, of how unfitting and undeserving this victory is for Jane. So first of all, Oscar could have just shot Jane earlier, right, when he shot Bertram, and then what would Jane's plan have been then, right? He was saying, oh, let's talk about this. We don't need to do this. So he's relying on the fact that Red John's arrogant enough to spare him then and to show up himself at the church just to gloat and, right, just to come to show off and do this. And so, you know, it's completely nonsense. So he's relying on Red John's arrogance, which never got Red John caught before, even that he'll show up just to show off. And again, it is totally fair because he spared Jane's life multiple times. He could have killed him any time throughout the series, theoretically, like in his house, like he killed his family, or he could have even done it. He could have even not saved his life, like in season 2, the finale. He saves his life, and then he also saves his life at the beginning of season 6, and then he spares his life again from the bomb that he plants in his house. Right, so there's so many times where he saved his life, so it's very undeserved, and Jane doesn't do anything. He relies on, oh, Red John's going to be arrogant enough to show up, which he didn't have to show up, right? Jane doesn't do anything to deserve that. You could say, oh, Red John's arrogant, but... And in fact, that's one line that doesn't make sense either. Red John was always feeling so self-righteous that he wouldn't say a line like that, where he says, oh, evil, sexually perverted sociopath, I guess I have to own that. But no, he wouldn't own that. He always said that he was, it's a higher path, Patrick, it's a nobler existence. And I also agree with this point based on even Jane's own experience, like, oh, he's just a egomaniac and he has delusions of grandeur. But as smart as Jane is, it's been so hard for Jane to catch Red John the whole series. So he's not really delusional because, you know, he's very impressive, at least. He's very capable. So even by Jane's own admission, this guy's run circles around you the whole show. Like, he's obviously very impressive. And even this sort of bitterness doesn't fit with Red John's character, who's a bit more jovial and playful. You could say that's just a front and an act. But the reality is that, yes, he was triggered by it. That's why he killed his family. But that's kind of been there, done that. We don't have to rehash that because they've spoken in the meantime, season 2, season 4, even the finale. And he doesn't talk like this. He's saying he's trying to convert him. It's a higher path and all of this. Like, this is written very cartoon villain-esque, like, oh, look, I'm smarter than you. Like, we get it, but you don't need to make a point of it. Then he touches the scaffolding there, the chairs with his bare hand, the DNA of a dead person. Maybe he doesn't care, but he'd be wearing his glove, he'd be wearing his costume, something like that. Right. And again, he's coming here just to brag, just to flex. So this is written very cartoon villainish. Unlike season 3's finale, where it's more happenstance in a public place on the spur of the moment, where Red John wouldn't expect him to have a gun, and he's kind of being more thematic, like, don't take revenge, and that's what Lisbon would say, and be disappointed, and didn't want him to do that, and the fact that he'd be willing to do that, right, would be more meaningful, and he could go to jail, and I make a whole, like, montage in my head. Lisbon becomes an alcoholic like her dad, and quits her job, and like all these things happen, that Jane was willing to do that, put everyone through that, to, you know, have a gun that he didn't expect him to have, that the one guy could have given him in an earlier episode and said, take revenge with this, right, in the little box, whether it was the same gun or not. So, like, it's very, like, multi-layered, where it would have been thematic to revenge is for fools and madmen, you know, they say in a previous episode. Your hindsight is 20/20, and it is indeed hindsight, because even the bird thing that he's going to do here, he didn't know it when he first saw that, right? It took him all the way till now, where he could have been dead in his house in the bomb. And so, yeah, when he said, can I show you something, I would say, you've already shown me enough. You've already shown me that you're no match for me all these, you know, these 6 seasons. You've shown me that you're nothing compared to me. I've run circles around you. I'm bored of you. No, you can't show me anything. You've already shown me all I need to see. And again, there's a few problems with this too. Like, Jane's already been searched, so what is it that he could show him? Everything that he has, he already knows, right? Right, unless Oscar didn't do a good job searching him, so the breadcrumbs and all that, there's nothing that Jane really could have showed him, because you've already been searched. Or even the phobia was introduced too recently. Like, it's not like you're thinking back to season 1, the only other time you see him. Season 1, episode 2, you're seeing, like Red John wouldn't be aware that he exposes phobia to him, and, you know, like, I don't know, it's kind of dumb that Red John, for as analytical as he is, he wouldn't have been aware, like, oh, I just reacted to the bird, so maybe he could have picked up on that. Or Red John wouldn't have searched the church for the gun, right, that was hidden there. Like, there could have been a camera there, there could have been a recorder, there could have been anything there. That means, like, he didn't search the church thoroughly, even though he let Jane dictate the location too. So he lets Jane decide the location, and he doesn't thoroughly search the location the way that Red John would have to do in so many other scenarios. Like, there could have been a camera there, a bomb there, a gun there. You know, there could have been anything. Yes, even Jane himself is saying he's disappointed. Like, he was so prepared at the house when he didn't even know what was going to happen, where he had a bomb planted at Jane's house and ready for that scenario and every eventuality, but he wasn't prepared for this one. Like, and of course, this is a cartoon villain thing too, where the nun, so he didn't have another gun or anything when he could have had anything on him. He came here of his own volition. It's not like Jane forced him to come here unprepared. So he had a nun prepared. He had a nun, but not a gun. That'll be my closing way to clown this. Red John had a nun prepared, but not a gun, not an extra gun, right? Or any other weapons or tasers, other things that he uses. Like, he didn't have his costume or anything. Now, he wouldn't have like an escape plan, like a car to get away, like if the police showed up or something. You could say he wasn't worried about Jane. That's why he didn't have another gun or something. But the problem is that he had the nun there, and he would have had like an escape plan with the car and Oscar and stuff like that anyway. So even there, he would have disappeared. Right, even there, he would have disappeared, and you'd never find him again, as smart as Red John is, right? On foot, or whether he's injured or not, he would have had an escape plan prepared. You know, he had all the cards in his favor. He could have used an escape plan because, right, like, he came there of his own will, so he could have had as many guns as he wanted. What would Jane have done then? He could have had an escape plan. He could have had other entourage with him, other guards. Like, there was no guarantee that scenario would have played out like that, right? Never mind that he just spares Jane's life in the first place. He could have just shot him immediately, or he could have just, you know, you're relying on him showing off, but then also not being prepared, even though he's coming of his own free will. And as if you could chase a character of Red John's caliber like this. Like, he wouldn't just get away and escape. Like, how are you able to, I guess, just because you're, you know, just because you're wounded, but it wouldn't stop you from still having all kind of tricks up your sleeve, which he just doesn't have, right? It's just completely nonsensical. People try to say, oh, he's just an ordinary man, but he's far from ordinary. As if that woman wouldn't try to help him, though, and like he wouldn't be able to use his cult-like following and charisma to do something. It's just kind of stupid, right? He would have been more prepared. He would have had some other plan, which maybe Jane could have dealt with that too, but he seems so pathetically unprepared. He doesn't have another gun, right? He had a nun prepared, but not a gun. Bro had a nun, but not a gun.